Bye. Everybody, welcome back to the Wealth Management Advisory Program. Thank you, Joe, for reminding that. All right, today we have a good guest. Actually, this is a very exciting guest we're having here. Actually, one of my good friends over from Wiley, and also he's the head instructor of the CPA exam over at Becker, and also the head CFA instructor over at Wiley. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Olinto. Please, guys, if you're undivided attention, please ask them questions. So with that, Peter, I'm going to leave it up to you. The floor is yours.
Jack, you're the man. Thank you so much. What's happening, everybody? Thanks for joining today. So again, my name is Peter Olinto, but you've heard of Jack of all trades. Well, I'm his cousin Pete. So see how much we all have in common. I originally started my career in public accounting, and I'm a very proud CPA, but I will admit that I did not grow up wanting to be a CPA. So my sad but true story is I originally went to Florida State University because I foolishly thought I had a shot of maybe playing some football. But after getting down there at Florida State, I quickly realized that was never, ever going to happen. About the only position they were going to offer me was as a tackling dummy. And as it turns out, I'm overqualified for that position. So that was out. So my brother flies F-16s in the Air Force. That seemed like a very exciting way to make a living. So then I joined the Air Force ROTC, looking to be a pilot, until I actually went up in a jet, and I quickly realized how afraid of flying I was. So that career path crashed and burned. So not knowing what to do with myself down at Florida State University, I was fortunate my uncle, he was a partner. Back then it was called the Big Eight. And I had no idea what my uncle did for a living. I knew he was a CPA, and I knew most importantly, he had 2 big homes, 2 big cars, and his big fat boat down the Jersey Shore. And I was like, damn, what do you do again? He goes, I'm a CPA. I said, man, I want to be a CPA too. And that's a sad but true story. But it gets even worse. At 18, I didn't even know what CPA stood for. So my uncle, though, thankfully quickly explained to me what was involved in public accounting and all the different opportunities, kind of explained it to me in a way that it's like a big buffet. So if you're not exactly sure what it is you want to do the rest of your life, you don't know what you want to eat for dinner, it's nice to be at a buffet where you can sample lots of different things. So between all the different industry areas and audit, so obviously retail, manufacturing, financial services, insurance, so many different things you could do. Then obviously on the tax side, you have international tax, federal tax, state and local, individual, partnership, gift, estate, trust. You have compliance, consulting. So that offered a whole bunch of different opportunities. And then obviously within consulting, just opens up that many more doors. So that was very appealing to me. In addition, you don't go to the same office, do the same thing all day, every day. So, I had thought a little bit about law school, but I was concerned about being a political science major. And then if I didn't get into law school, what would I do with a degree in political science, right? So, I decided to go the public accounting route. I was fortunate. My first job out of school was Deloitte. Back then it was Deloitte, Haskins and Sells merging with Touche Ross. Deloitte and Touche, I was the inaugural class of their merger. But, it was a great decision, a great opportunity. Because much like my uncle explained, I got the opportunity to do lots of different things. But I will tell you that one of the advantages I had starting at Deloitte is I was finished with the CPA exam before I started working. So back then it was only offered twice a year and was May, November. But, it's a big, big help, boy, if you can get all 4 parts out of the way before you start working full time. If not all 4, at least 2 or 3, because you can quickly become a victim of your own success. The good news is if you're doing well at the job, you'll have lots of opportunities. The bad news is your opportunities to study start to diminish. And a lot of people start to struggle on the exam because they just don't have the time. It's not an IQ test, because Lord knows if this were an IQ test, if we had a 2-tailed distribution of the IQs of everyone on this call, myself included, my IQ would be in the left tail, but my work ethic is in the right tail. So worked real hard, got the CPA out of the way, got my experience requirement, and I decided to go to law school. So the first tangible benefit I saw of being a CPA is when I applied to law school, I actually got several personalized acceptance letters that referenced the fact that my experience at Deloitte, along with the CPA, was a differentiating factor. The other thing I found is that while in law school, there was very little that I was taught in law school that I had not seen already, you know, being an accounting major and studying for the CPA. So obviously, you know, we learn business law, tax law, but, you know, securities law, bankruptcy law, contracts, it just, the list goes on. And relative to the political science majors, I had such a big advantage. The only thing really I hadn't studied is criminal law and constitutional law, but big advantage there. And then even I wanted to go to law school at Fordham in New York. It's a good school, but it's not Columbia. It's not NYU. But again, having my CPA, I got far more interviews than I would have probably had otherwise. You know, I wound up, my master plan was to be a tax attorney, but then after going to law school, I figured, you know, there's a lot of things that I found interesting. So I accepted a job with EY in their tax department to be a tax attorney, but I left shortly thereafter to start my own law practice. And as a young attorney, you know, I found that having that accounting background paid big dividends, made it easier to attract clients. I actually had several clients reference that, you know, attorney's nice, but being a CPA, they figured I was hardworking, honest, and ethical. And I was like, well, 1 out of 3 ain't bad, but definitely helped me build my law practice. And then I started teaching accounting, business law, etc. And then because my only practicing credential is ADD, I decided I hadn't had enough school and studying yet. So I was teaching CPA, as Jack referenced, and the course I was teaching for bought a CFA course. They asked me to teach the accounting, and then the accounting became the corporate finance, and then equity, and then debt. And then lo and behold, I wound up sitting for levels 1, 2, took a nice long break. Then I passed level 3, but I got my CFA charter. You know, I've done a lot of teaching for, you know, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Merrill Lynch, taught CFA classes all around the world. And one of the interesting things I found about finance majors, you want to talk about people with a passion for accounting. Nobody hates accounting more than the finance people. Unfortunately, the most heavily tested topics, though, in levels 1 and 2 of the CFA exam is accounting. So again, I found it extremely beneficial to have that background in accounting. It made going through the CFA exam so much easier. I'll talk to you a little bit about the content, format, and structure of the CFA exam, but really, it paid tremendous dividends. So I guess, you know, the moral to the story is for those of you out there questioning, you know, your major, and, you know, I think accounting is a phenomenal background. Even if you want to go in finance, I mean, how are you going to be an equity analyst? How are you going to be a credit analyst if you don't understand the income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flow? And it's not about doing debits and credits. I get it, you know, but understanding, you know, the balance sheet to assess risk, right? Financial risk, short-term risk of distress. How should you raise your capital? What combination of debt and equity? You know, what does that do if they have a relatively high debt to equity? Is that good news, bad news? Well, it's neither one. There are pros and cons, right? The more debt you have, the greater the risk, but you don't have a lot of partners. So if the business is successful, obviously the owners of the business are going to benefit. You know, understanding the income statement, the performance, you know, being able to take those assets, create revenue, have that revenue create profit, understanding operating risk. You know, what's the volatility in sales, the volatility in operating income. I actually learned a lot more about the use of accounting while studying for the CFA versus, you know, the CPA. I was so like robotic, you know, it was just, you know, what to debit, what to credit, all that stuff. But I never thought about bottom line, you know, when you calculate earnings per share, you know, the average investor sees EPS go up. They get excited. Stock price goes up. But should it? You know, there are multiple categories on an income statement. Only some of that is sustainable. You know, there are things that happen on an income statement that are not part of your core business. You know, McDonald's is in the business selling burgers and fries. If their operating income goes up because they're selling more burgers, I'm impressed. But, you know, McDonald's, they own investments just like we do. They happen to be one of the largest private owners of real estate. What if McDonald's says, hey, let's start selling or closing our stores in Manhattan? We bought that real estate 50 years ago for $10 million. It's now worth, you know, $410 million. Let's sell it, capture that profit. Well, in the short term, yeah, you can have all these gains. But in the long term, if you close your stores and sell your real estate, how are you going to be selling burgers in the future, right? So it's understanding what's driving the earnings. And then understanding a statement of cash flow. You know, accrual basis earnings. Just look at WorldCom, Enron, WT Grant. What happens on an income statement is not objective reality. You know, we book revenue, you may not have the cash. You might book an expense and you might not have paid the bill yet. There are a lot of estimates that go into accrual basis accounting. But the balance sheet, statement of cash flow, it's cash in, cash out. If at the end of the day, you can't generate cash from your core business, we got big problems. So if cash is going up, that might sound like a good sign. Maybe. It depends upon how you generate. I don't know about you, but when I was in school, I was bankrupt in every sense of the word. But there were times where if you looked at my bank statement, cash was going up. But I was unemployed. How was I getting the cash? I was borrowing it. So that's not a sustainable source of cash. And if you're selling your stock to raise cash, well, now you're going to be diluting my earnings per share. And when you learn about corporate finance and cost of capital, management is privy to material, non-public information. If they need to raise money and they're selling their own stock, why do you sell stock? Because you think maybe it's overvalued. It's time to get rid of it, right? Well, they're no different. If they're selling off their stock, they might think that's a cheap source of capital. Conversely, if they need capital and they decide, you know what, we're going to borrow the money, that could be a sign of optimism, right? If you're going to start a business and you were very confident your business was going to kick ass, I doubt you'd be looking to add 1 million partners. You look to borrow the money, take the risk, and then you accrue all that benefit. So understanding the statement of cash flow in conjunction with the income statement balance sheet, in my opinion, having that, if you want to be in business, having a good foundation in accounting, and if accounting's not your thing, you don't want to do audit or tax, fine, you combine that with a degree in finance, and boy, it just opens up a whole world of opportunities. But I'll tell you this, people ask me all the time, what was the hardest test? The CPA, CFA, the bar exam. The bar exam, I will tell you, is very difficult, because there's it's 2 full days, 8 hours, then another 8 hours, a lot of essay writing, multi-state rules, and then whatever state you want to get licensed in. And then if you want to get licensed, let's say in New York and New Jersey, you're sitting for the multi-state, then New York and New Jersey, 3 days, back to back to back. But I'll tell you, the pass rate on the bar exam tends to be really high. Why? Because you ain't practicing law unless you pass the bar exam. And I don't know about you, I didn't want to go 3 years to law school, incur all those loans, and then not be able to practice law. That's the differentiating factor I find between the bar versus the CPA, CFA. A lot of people say, I have a degree in accounting, but I don't really like accounting, so I'm not going to sit for the CPA. To me, that's the equivalent of going, 3 years to law school, except it's worse because you're getting 4 or 5 years, and then you're not going to get your CPA. And if you're in finance, the CFP, I'm not knocking it. If you got a tax practice and you're a financial planner, that you could do really well. I'm not saying you can't, but the credential to have in finance, because supply and demand is the most difficult exam, the CFA exam, and don't take my word for it. Google salary potential for someone who's a CFA charter holder, the job opportunities, portfolio management. You want to be an equity analyst, credit analyst, investment banking, the list goes on and on. There's so many different things you could do. But the CPA, CFA, it's about being motivated to finish the job. And having those letters opens doors for you the rest of your life. You will never regret, especially while you're a young professional. And listen, your school is a nice school, but you and I both know it's not Harvard, it's not Yale, it's not Princeton. How do you compete with these Ivy League people? You can't just buy a charter online. You can't. It's a lot of time and effort. Same thing with the CPA. These are the things you could do to make yourself more competitive on Wall Street or wherever you want to be. So accumulating these credentials, I'm not saying it's a stairway to the stars, but it certainly gives you that opportunity that you might not have otherwise. And again, as a professional test taker, and I'm not a rocket scientist, far from it, it's about putting in the time and effort, whether it was the bar, the CPA, CFA. Listen, you're committing, for each level of the CFA, 3 to 6 months. Pass all 4 parts of the CPA exam could be done in as little as 4 months, 3-4 months, but it could take you 18 months. And it's cost benefit, right? You're paying a price, but everyone can't do it. And that's what makes the credential valuable. If everybody could pass Series 7, I think my grandmother, she never went to school. Everybody has it. What's really the value, right? So it's making that commitment. And listen, I'm not here to sell you on anything but opportunity. If your mom or dad's got a business they're going to leave to you, you're going to inherit a lot of money. Forget everything I'm saying. But assuming that's not the case, I was a blue collar guy And you're probably, I know what you're thinking. Hey, this guy grew up in Mississippi, right? Is that what you're thinking my accent? I'm a blue collar guy from the Bronx. If I didn't make it on I was in big trouble. My parents weren't leaving me anything but debt. Great parents, great life. I had an awesome time growing up. There's many ways to measure success. Money is but one of them. But to me, what was the biggest motivating factor? People say, why'd you do it? Opportunity. I never think about the worst job you've ever had. Let that be your motivation. Can you imagine how I watched my father get up, break his back, doing manual labor for 40 years while his back was killing him, arthritis and everything else. But, he had no options. That's it. That's the way it was. You don't ever want to be in that position. And I'm just telling you, you accumulate, you get your CPA, you're not going to be unemployed unless you want to find a better job. Same thing if you're a CFA charter holder, and it's a global credential. Unlike the US CPA, the CFA opens doors globally, and the exam is given in English all around the world. And levels 1 and 2 are multiple choice. Level 3 is half multiple choice and then half written, what they call a constructive response. It's like a little mini essays, but you write it in English. And I will tell you though, the CFA, the default rule is not US GAAP. So if you've got electives, use your electives wisely. You want to understand international financial reporting standards if you plan on sitting for the CFA. For my CPA candidates, use your electives wisely. Take that class in governmental and not-for-profit. Take an additional class in tax. When the average person hears you're a CPA, what do they immediately expect you to be an expert in? Tax. And for my CFA people, you want to sit for the CFA exam, you want to be a money manager for high net worth individuals. What's one of their concerns? After tax, right? And all the estate planning. So it's always good to have those classes in tax. For the CPA, the accounting people, you want to see if a good combination CPA, CFA, take a class in corporate finance. You'll see debt and equity, but not just from the side of the issuer, the corporation who's raising the capital, but those who are supplying the capital. What kind of rate of return does a stockholder think they deserve? How do they gauge their risk, operating risk, financial risk? How does a bondholder, prospective bondholder, how do they gauge whether or not you're credit worthy and what that cost of capital should be? So it's a lot of interesting stuff, but well beyond the debits and credits. And having that finance accounting to me is just such a phenomenal combination. For those of you, I primarily want to speak about the CFA, but I understand we got a diverse group. But the CFA is in a league of its own. Not only because you have levels 1, 2, and 3. I found the CFA the most challenging, because you can't sit for the bar exam unless you went to law school. So most of the bar was review. When I studied for it was a review. CPA, you got to be an accounting major, all these credits and audit and tax and whatever. You can't sit for the CPA exam unless you're an accountant. CFA, you can have pretty much any background, anything. There's no prerequisites as you got to sit for so many classes in finance, or absolutely not. You could have a degree in science or IT, whatever. You might understand an industry really well because you've got a medical degree. You're a pharmacist, whatever. And then you combine that with the CFA charter, and now you're an equity analyst in that particular. Listen, you're not teaching me the science, but I can tell you could teach the scientist the business. So with the CFA, your topics, get this, ethics. And it's not, you would think, oh, ethics is simple. No, it's not. It's a lot more challenging than you would think, even though it's all theory. Quantitative methods. As a CPA, I had to put a little bit more time in with the quant, understanding how you forecast expected returns and values, and then the risk of not achieving that expected amount, and trying to explain in English to a potential client, hey, I'm 95% confident your return is going to be within a certain range, but hey, there's a 5% chance I'm screwing up. 2.5% chance, much lower than I thought. Shortfall risk. So the quantitative methods is a big part of levels 1, 2, and 3. You've got economics, macro, micro, global economics, understanding top-down approach, how GDP affects certain industries, how it affects certain companies. Are they now attractive or not to invest in? Understanding exchange rates and how to hedge exchange rate risk. Financial reporting and analysis. And it's not just, basic fundamentals financial, it's intermediate level accounting, advanced accounting, and understanding how an analyst uses the financials to assess growth potential, risk, required return, future cash flow, free cash flow, residual income, whatever it may be, to come up with value, and whether or not you think the stock is a hold, a buy, whatever. Then you've got your equity analysis, doing all your different valuation models, relative valuation, fundamental, technical analysis. You've got fixed income, understanding debt, but not just from the perspective of the issuer, but from the perspective of the bondholder. What are the advantages and disadvantages of buying callable debt, puttable debt, convertible debt, assessing interest rate risk? Right now, we're very concerned about rates going up. Which bonds are going to be most sensitive to that increase in interest rates? Understanding corporate finance, understanding derivatives, forward, futures, options, swaps to speculate or hedge risk, alternative investments, hedge funds, private equity, real estate, portfolio management, which has a lot of overlap with quant and ethics, understanding your ethical obligation to your client, whoever they may be. Level 3 is 50% portfolio management. How to manage money, not just for high net worth individuals, but maybe it's a pension fund. Maybe it's a foundation. Maybe it's a bank. Maybe it's an insurance company. Everybody have different levels of risk aversion. How do you gauge risk? Willingness versus ability to assume risk. What are the constraints when somebody invests their money? So it's the diversity of topics in the CFA that no one has a major in all those topics. It's not possible. So, the CFA, for most candidates, there's a lot of learning. Part of it is a review, but a lot of times topics first time you're going through it. So that's what made the CFA challenging, not to mention levels 1, little bit of everything, but not a lot of anything, spread out. Level 2, a much deeper dive into things like equity, fixed income, etc. And then level 3, the portfolio management, each level of the CFA, probably about 300 to 400 hours of study time. And that's probably what I put in total when studying for the bar. I probably put in about 400 or 500 hours studying for the CPA, 300 to 400 per level. That's why the passing rates are so low. People throw in the towel. They're not properly motivated. So again, Google, I don't know what motivates you, but for me, it's all about the money. You show me the money, I'll follow you around like a little dog. Google the job opportunities and the financial opportunities if you have that CFA charter. Woo, baby, I feel like I'm giving birth to a CFA. All right. What do you got for me? Any questions for me? Jack, you want to read out any questions you might have?
Yeah, anybody have any questions here?
Ask them how long it takes to get this CFA.
How long does it take to get the CFA?
Yeah, so it's a lot different than when I sat for the exam. Level 1 was only once a year. Level 2 was only once a year. Level 3 was once a year. So you couldn't do it, but in 3 years minimum. Back then it took an average of about 5 years because people take some time off. Now level 1 is given 4 times a year. Level 3 is given 3 times a year, 2-3 times. They change it. Level 3 is given several times a year. So you could do it in as short as, 18 months. You could pass levels 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back. Very difficult though, because of the volume of information. So if you're working full time or whatever, you probably want to plan on, about 3 years. But I think the CFA Institute still says to get all 3 levels out of the way successfully, you're looking at approximately, 5 years still. Because I took off time between levels 2 and 3 because I got married and I had my kids, and then I finally got motivated to sit for level 3. So, it all depends upon your situation, but you can pass much faster today than you could years ago because the levels are given multiple times a year. So you've got an opportunity to get through it more quickly. And I tell people, the most important level is level 1 because that sets the foundation. Level 2 is everything you saw in level 1, except a much deeper. It's level 1 on steroids. So you don't want to barely pass level 1. You need to kick ass in level 1. And the most heavily tested topics are your ethics, your accounting, your equity, your debt. I mean, these topics, you're going to see them. And accounting is only in levels 1 and 2, though. You won't see that in level 3. But it's cumulative, as you go through the levels.
Thank you.
Anybody on Zoom with any questions? Anybody?
I'm just going to mention, Jack, for the group. I think I got it here. I'm just going to share my screen. You mind if I share my screen for a second?
Yeah, we're going to do that right now.
All right. I'm just going to share this real quick. Guys, as I was mentioning, if you go to CFA Institute, did that come up, guys?
Yep, there it is.
All right. If you go to cfainstitute.org, it has what I was mentioning about the career paths, which I think, again, you need the motivation so you can see the typical jobs, portfolio management, research, consulting, whatever, typical investment management sectors, asset management, private wealth, commercial banking, etc. If you continue on this, you will see that they also give you some really good information about salary. So if you're really interested in what these folks make, and don't be misled, because a lot of times you're looking at base salaries, and sometimes the bonuses could be a multiple of what that base salary is. Pursuing the CFA charter worth it? Do your due diligence, guys. Get yourself the information you need to make sure that you're willing and able to put that time in, okay? If you think it on the CPA side, there's similar type of literature on the AICPA.org. So if you go there, you can find out the information about, having the CPA and the job opportunities. CFAinstitute.org obviously also gives you all the information about the content format structure of levels 1, 2, and 3. It gives you the fees. There are early registration. You pay like $700, and then if you're a late registration, it's like $1,000. We also give you they'll give you the dates of the exam. Normally, whenever you're looking to study for the CFA, subtract 6 months. You generally want to start at least 6 months before you take that exam. So that I just wanted to show that real quick. That was it, Jack. That's all I got. Anything else? Oh, and by the way, as a thank you for everybody attending, my friends at Wiley. Jack, did you get that that code?
I did. I do have it. I will give to all of our members here today. Actually, from us, we'll actually be giving you guys $600 off of, I think, the CFA exam.
CFA exam, that is correct. So my friends at Wiley, very generous. So for those of you interested in sitting for the CFA, it's a $600 off promo code for the level 1 exam, the platinum course. Good stuff.
Yeah. Any last questions before Peter has to go? Anybody? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, then. Peter, thank you so much for coming to speak to us today, and have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks, guys. I wish you all the best of luck. I'm on LinkedIn. If you ever want to connect, ever have any questions, let me know. But good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everyone stay under just a sec. Get everyone on. The meeting, Professor Watts, you can go if you want. But you got to make announcements to the club. Stay on. Okay. So the meeting's not over yet. I actually have a little surprise presentation for you guys. As you guys probably have known already, I am a IMA campus ambassador for the Institute of Management Accounting. And originally, I did present it back in January in one of our topic meetings that we used to do. So what I will be doing right now, let me share my screen. Do you have the, no, this is not it. Wrong slide deck. There it is. All righty. So you're only getting 2 presentations for the price of 1, so think about like that. All right, so your career story, discovering the CMA certification. So just for everyone who knows who I am, you guys probably see me everywhere on campus, at PDP events and also club meetings. Just going briefly down, my name is Jack Mitchell. I'm a sophomore, accounting major at FDU at Silberman College of Business. I'm also a Wiley campus ambassador. Like Peter just said, we do have a discount for our level 1 course of the CFA exam. And also, if you want more information on the CFA exam, I did present Wiley to this club back in December. It is on our YouTube channel. You want to watch that recording. I'm also an IMA campus ambassador as well. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about careers in management accounting. What is the IMA? Gain an edge with the CMA. What are the steps to becoming a CMA? And then we're going to have a little Q&A for anybody who has questions with the IMA. And CMA. So careers in management accounting. So we all know that there are 2 sides of accounting. There's usually, there's to talk about public accounting and private accounting, but there's also to talk about public accounting and management accounting. So basically, you see here on the right here, you have public accounting, which is your audit and tax, with basically public accountants that focus on the compliance, the relevant certification, which is the CPA, which is a certified public accountant. This is licensed granted by a U.S. state and is focused on historical data. While on the other side, you have the management accounting, which is internal, which focuses on develop, input, manage, and report, and management accounting support the creation of value rather than simply measuring it. The relevant certification is the CMA, which is the Gold Professional Certification, focuses on the future and on supporting strategy. So who we are, what we do, and where do we work? So you see here on the screen, we have these green boxes. These green boxes represent these jobs that who they are. It's basically a VP of Finance, Controller, Finance Manager, and CFO. So now a little bit of magic. Little blue boxes. So here are the blue boxes. These discuss what we do. We basically support business management, strategic development, plan for the long term, act as trusted business advisors, establish and maintain internal controls, provide accurate information for better decisions, and execute budgeting and forecasting. Now watch what happens. So where do management accounts work? They usually work in government organizations, private firms, multinational corporations, academic institutes, and not-for-profit organizations. In fact, we do have some professors here at FU Silberman College. They're actually our CMA certified. You know them? So management accounting profession. More than 75% of accounting and finance professionals in the U.S. work inside organizations, building quality financial practices into the organization through decision support, planning, and control over the organization's value-creating operations. So the future of the profession of CMA. We have new technologies out there, data analytics, which you're probably taking AIS, which is accounting information systems, which actually explains artificial intelligence in a way, and also blockchain. We also have disruption to accounting profession, and then also management accountants are uniquely qualified to manage this change. So where do management accountants work? They work at all types of companies, big, small, big four. Like right here, American Express, Amazon, Tesla, Goldman Sachs, which we actually had back on Tuesday. Everyone went to the Student Investment Club, Apple, Google, and even the United Nations as well. So here are just a few, stories about some people who actually received and actually gained their CMA. I basically will not go through these a lot, but I will be sharing with all you guys, everyone on this club, a slide deck of what I present, so you guys can look at it on your own time. I do know we have a time limit to go to, so I'm gonna breeze right through this. So now you're probably wondering, Jack, what is IMA? Well, I'm finally going to tell you what IMA is. IMA is the Institute Management Accountants. It is a global network of more than 125,000 members worldwide, more than 300 student and professional chapters. In fact, even as an IMA student ambassador, I was actually able to present to a couple of BAP chapters, a couple of IMA chapters back, I think, in 2021. So I'm actually kind of pretty happy doing that. 4 regions of 10 global offices. And a fun fact, did you know that the IMA global headquarters is actually located in New Jersey? It's actually located in Montvale, New Jersey. So if anyone wants to go take a trip up there, you actually go there. Now, it does offer a global recognized certification, which is the CMA, the Certified Management Accountant. So what are the IMA student benefits? Well, because, if you're really interested about becoming a CMA certified, I actually want to join, here are basically some benefits about the IMA student membership. So we have valuable leadership experience. We have a network of more than 125,000 global members. We have the IMA Student Leadership Conference, which actually, as an IMA campus ambassador, we actually would go to virtually, unfortunately, because of COVID. We do have reduced membership and CMA fees, and also have competitions, scholarships, and honor award programs, which we also have the CMA Scholarship Award, which I will talk about that in a little bit. But also, you have to actually take the CMA. So we also, I just want to plug this out there. We do have free IMA learning opportunities for students and academics. We have the IMA Data Analytics and Visualization Fundamental Certificate, and then the IMA RPA series. This is completely free for IMA students. I did take both these courses. It's actually kind of pretty fun to learn about, the analytics and visualization. Oh, and I forgot to plug in my chapter. So there are a couple chapters in New Jersey. They're on the IMA website. You basically go into IMA and go into, I believe it's find about more the chapters. I basically will put in the email with the slide deck, the list of chapters here in New Jersey. I will do that. So gain an edge with the CMA exam. So what is the CMA? The CMA stands for the Certified Management Accountant. It is a globally recognized profession in the management accounting. It does focus on advanced skills in accounting and financial management, such as financial planning, analysis, control, decision support. I kind of think of it like this: an accounting major and finance major. You merge them together, it's the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Enhances strategic thinking. CMAs can explain the why behind the numbers. So the CMA exam structure. I know with the CPA exam, originally it's usually 4 parts until, if anyone's taking it in 2024, it is to be changing to the new, I think it's the fundamentals and the core, and then you're taking the 3 branches. But for CMA, it's actually two parts. It's actually part one and there's part two. So part one is part of the financial planning, performance and analysis and analytics, which is the external financial reporting decisions, planning, budgeting, forecasting, performance management, cost management, internal controls, technology, and analytics. And then part two, which is strategic financial management, which focuses on financial statement analysis, corporate finance, decision analysis, risk management, investment decisions, and professional ethics. Each exam is 4 hours long. Actually, part of it. There's 100 multiple choice questions followed by 2 30-minute essay scenarios. So the difference is in numbers. As the old saying goes, numbers don't lie. CMAs between the ages of 20 and 29 can earn 37% more in total compensations than non-CMAs. That's actually kind of pretty cool to know that. So here are some phrases, some sayings from some CMAs. Like I said, I'm not going to go over all of them because we have a lot to talk about. So I basically will skip this slide for a second. So now I'm going to show you the video of students like you that are pursuing the CMA exam. Hopefully, when we do put this recording up on YouTube, hopefully we'll get copyrighted. I'm hopeful. All right, let me share my desktop. Go. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see it. Oh, wait. I have to put my, you know what up? That, okay. Okay, I'm not gonna play the video then. I'm not gonna play the video. Get in. Apologize. I'm not going to show the video because it's just way too much technical difficulty. So let's get back to the slide deck. Apologize for that. So there are young professionals who are pursue the CMA. Like I said, you'll be able to look at this later in the meeting after the meeting's over. So now I'm going to talk about steps to becoming a CMA. If you basically are, you know, persuaded or actually pursuing, oh, I want to get the CMA, I want to get my CMA designation. Here are the steps on how you actually have to do it. The program requirements. You have to completion of the 2 exams like you talked about, part 1 and part 2. You have a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university, any major, aka where you guys are at right now, at the Silberman College of Business. 2 years of relevant work experience, and you have an active membership in the IMA, Institute of Management Accounts. So exam testing. Exam is administered at hundreds of computer testing facilities worldwide. You can check imanet.org for details. 3 exam testing windows are offered each year: January, February, May, and June, and then September, October. Candidates schedule exams at their own pace. Part 1 and part 2 can be taken in any order, and on average, candidates complete the program within 12 to 18 months. Check the prometric testing site, review guidelines, and calculator policies, etc., ahead of time. So the IMA website. So basically, to become an IMA, you actually have to pay a certain fee. So basically, professional members is actually $230 a year plus a $15 one-time processing fee. Then you have to pay the CMA program entrance fee, which is actually $250, which is a one-time fee. And then to sit for each part of the exam, you actually have to pay $415. So really, if I do the math right now on my calculator, that's basically $830. Now, with you guys being students, you guys actually get a discount on actually doing all these things. So if you become a student member of the IMA, you don't have to pay $230. That gets cut down to $39 a year. You pay for the CMA program entrance fee, cut that $250 down to $188. And then to register for exam part, it's $311, which if you really think about it, that's $622. And if you really do the math here, the $830 minus the $622, you actually are saving $208. All you have to do is basically use code campus22 and go to the website www.imanet.org, and you can join for just $25 per year. Now, I did mention about the CMA Scholarship Program. So just a fun little story about how I how I joined the IMA. Back, I believe it was April or March of 2021, I joined a webinar. It was hosted by IMA. They were talking about the CMA and IMA, and I heard about the CMA Scholarship Program. And luckily, one of the people that was on the call was actually on this call right now, is actually Professor West, who's the head of the accounting department here at FDU. And I asked him to, nominate me for the scholarship, in which I actually did get nominated. I actually accepted for the award. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I get the CMA scholarship? Well, this makes how you do it. So IMA offers 10 scholarships per year at every school, which covers all the costs related to the CMA program. So the faculty must nominate students. So basically, any accounting professors or finance professors, they can nominate for the CMA exam. Students who receive the scholarship will receive at no extra cost 3 years of the IMA student membership. And with me actually becoming IMA campus ambassador, I actually did 1 extra year, so I actually have it for 4 years. But keep going on here. The entrance of the CMA program, you get 2 CMA exam sitting fees, which basically, if you pass both part 1 and part 2 of the CMA exam, you don't have to pay anything. And then you get 12 months access, which equals to a year to Glean or to Wiley CMA materials. Take the exam while you're still in school. Believe me, it's going to pay off again. And all this packaged together is more than $2,000 in value. Like, that's a lot of money for scholarship program. So please, if you want to be nominated for it, ask a accounting or finance professor about, nominating for the CMA scholarship program. I will probably get the link to that. In this presentation. So now we're talking about the Student Leadership Conference. So last year it was hosted virtually because of COVID. However, I can finally say this as an IMA campus ambassador that this year, on October 20th through October 22nd, 2022, the IMA Student Leadership Conference, after a 2-year hiatus, will be coming back in person. It is going to be held in Pittsburgh, PA, the Witham Grant Pittsburgh. It is a great opportunity, to network with other accounting majors from all over the world. And it's not really like your typical, accounting conference. It's more like, fun. You're also learning at the same time. So why take the CMA exam right now? Well, students that take the CMA before graduation, and that is possible to do. And I did discuss this back when I did present at Wiley back in December. I did talk about that. The CMA exam tests topics you study in college courses. So what you guys are learning right now is going to apply when you take the CMA exam and also the CPA exam as well. Students are more efficient studiers than professionals who have been out of school for many years. And IMA offers reduced membership and CMA exam-related fees for students. And if you're looking for an advanced certification to build your skills, to build your resume, and earning potential, the CMA is absolutely the right choice for you. So how do I kickstart my future career as a certified management accountant? Well, here's my CMA to-do list. You have to join the IMA. Use Campus 22. You get to pay for only $25 a year, which is, not a lot of money to pay. Talk to your professor about the CMA scholarship. Study and pass the CMA exam. Graduate, get your relevant work experience, and then add CMA to your business card and add it to your LinkedIn profile. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for any Q&A from anybody on Zoom, anyone here about the CMA exam or about the CMA scholarship or anything about IMA. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
So if you pass the exam, you have to work for 2 years and then you get certified?
You can work for 2 years and you get certified. Like, I know, for me, like I'm working right now with tax verification with them. So technically internship.
Internships count?
Yeah, no, relevant work experience. I think I had to work like a whole year. But you could like work and then you could also get the CMA at the same time. So that's basically my answer to that. Anybody else have any other questions? Really, nobody? Did I really do that good of a job presenting this? I guess I did. Well, you guys know that if you ever want to hear more about CFA or CMA, I did present it back in December to Wiley, and it's on our FTU Wealth Management Advisory Club's YouTube channel, where I did present this all with my awesome regional director competition from Wiley. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording because it's dead.